Okay, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. My name is Tara. I'm the program coordinator for Central New Hampshire Community Opioid Response Program. And this is our second in our summer webinar series, Drug Court and Restorative Justice. Well, it would help if I played that from the beginning. All right, so just a little bit of housekeeping. If everybody can please mute your phone or computer. If you're not speaking, that would be wonderful. We're going to have all questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end, and we'll have all questions submitted through the chat, and I will read them to the speakers just to keep it organized. And if you have any additional questions, you can reach me, and this is my contact information. I believe it's also on the last slide that will come up as well. But you can also reach me via Midstate or CADY. Either one could get a hold of me. So just a little bit about my program here, Central New Hampshire Community Opioid Response. So this is our mission and vision statement. Our mission is the Central New Hampshire Community Opioid Response Program aims to ensure comprehensive, coordinated, and easily accessible prevention, treatment, and recovery services for those impacted by opioid use disorders in the Central New Hampshire region. And our vision for the future is that the Central New Hampshire Community Opioid Response Program will build a community to prevent, treat, and promote recovery from opioid use disorders. The program will create a local system that is free of barriers, easily accessible, and fully integrated at every point of contact to reduce opioid misuse and promote healthy lifestyles and promising futures. And this is made possible by a 3-year grant from HRSA, the Rural Community Opioid Response Program grant. And these organizations you see here at the bottom are our partner organizations and are represented on our board. And that is CADY, Midstate, Spear, Park, which is the new Plymouth Area Recovery Connection, and Lakes Region Mental Health Center. All right, so up first, we have Annie Crowley, who's the program manager for the Grafton County Drug Court, which is managed by North Country Health Consortium. She has extensive experience in the fields of social service, human services, mental health, and in navigating the legal system. Rhonda Bishop is a licensed alcohol and drug counselor working for the Grafton County Drug Treatment Program. She provides education, processes intakes, assessments, treatment, and prevention plans. She has worked with many reputable treatment facilities throughout the state. So without further ado, I will let them take it from here.
Good afternoon. So I'm Annie, and Rhonda is here somewhere in this other people on the side of my screen. Rhonda, you want to say hello?
Hi there.
So Rhonda and I both work for North Country Health Consortium, and we're going to tell you a little bit about the consortium. This drug court program was operated by the county up until a few years ago when it went out to bid, and the consortium took it over. So I was working as a case manager at that time, and actually Doug Moorhead, who you will speak here later, I was working as the interim coordinator. So North Country Health Consortium is located in Littleton, New Hampshire. That's where their primary office is, and so they are a collaboration to improve health status of the northern New Hampshire area. So go to the next slide. Oh, Tara left me and she's in control. Okay. So the drug treatment program of Grafton County, a mission of the drug treatment court of Grafton County sentencing program is to improve community safety, decrease financial costs currently incurred by the criminal justice system, to assist criminal offenders in breaking the cycle of crime and drug abuse by means of judicially supervised drug abuse treatment intensive supervision, cognitive and behavioral modification in order to transform offenders into a healthier, productive, law-abiding citizens. But most importantly, we make connections with folks that are suffering from a substance use disorder. That's how we get through the rest of it. The connection.
I think Annie is frozen.
There you go. Until she comes back. So North Country Health Consortium is like it has many organizations or that they've created under the umbrella. And these right here that you're seeing list the many different ones. And then they go down, if you flip the screen, last I knew they broke them down individually so we can cover what they are. I can't really read what's going on here, but improve the health of the individuals and overall health of the region. Improve infrastructure, capacity, and deliver public health services. Improves access to the services for the underserved and uninsured North Country residents. Together with all organizations throughout the region, we provide coordinating and facilitates. Basically, they just try to figure out ways to connect, to make the connections. It's pretty much what you're doing, Tara, and that's bridging the gaps and pulling it together to support the substance use and specifically the opiate. But if you want to continue on. Hopefully Andy's gonna come back, because I've only been with the drug treatment court in North Country Health Consortium for a year and a half, and my concentration here is clinical and specifically for the drug treatment, not for the organization as a whole. So anyways, bear with me, everybody. I apologize. The Public Health North Country Public Health Network co-authors in Northern Grafton County, the Public Health Emergency Preparedness, Healthy Homes and Environments, Social Determinants of Oral Health, Chronic Disease, Medical Reserve Corps, and Substance Misuse. Petra is one of their individual things that they put together, and that's helping adults, communities, and professionals in the Northern New Hampshire to understand, prevent, and treat substance use disorder throughout assistance, connection, education, and recovery support. Tara, is that something in the lines that you're doing?
It is. It's very, yeah, very close. Just trying to make all those connections. Ours is more in Grafton County. We do
Right.
overlap, I know, a little bit in the Littleton area. I'm sorry, not Littleton, the Lincoln Woodstock area.
There you go. Yeah. And next. And that pretty much breaks it down. Projected goal to strengthen and substance use disorder, opioid use disorder, prevention, treatment, and recovery services delivery in the New Hampshire Northern County. Again, for those that know what Tara's doing, it's basically just the upper portion. Substance misuse prevention programs. They have the Substance Misuse Prevention Network, Student Assistance Program, Continuum of Care, Drug-Free Community Support Program, Young Adult Strategies, Positive Youth Development, and Care Management Program. It's on the prevention side. Substance use disorder on the clinical side is the Friendship House Residential Treatment Program, which is located in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. They have 24/7, 365 services include high intensity residential treatment, low intensity residential treatment. They have 28 beds for men and women. Access to care for those who are insured on Medicaid or uninsured. Within these areas, clients are provided with nutritious meals, case management, one-on-one counseling, group therapy, and more. Just to update everybody on the status because of the COVID-19 issue, they did shut down for a period of time completely, waiting for the state to guide them as far as what the CDC guidelines are. So they recently just started within the last 2 weeks to slowly open up, and they're only opening up for the low intensity treatment part right now. And they're going to continue that process so that they can start opening it up even further. So just to give everybody heads up. Annie, are you back now? Can we hear you?
I'm back. See, that was my way of getting Rhonda to speak because she
There you
doesn't like to do that. Sorry, I got booted. So next slide. We have some intensive outpatient and we have intensive outpatient treatment program, IOP programs. We utilize that a lot with our drug court program. Everybody kind of knows what that is. Next slide. So to the meat and potatoes, the drug court. So the drug court program is an 18 to 36 month program designed for offenders with a felony level offense that also has a substance use disorder. And we focus on addiction, recovery, stabilization, and continuum of care. So we work to determine their appropriateness and level of care and support them in maintaining a drug-free lifestyle as well as trying to reduce recidivism. Next slide. So the drug court is multi-phase. It's a 5-phase program for adults who plea in the program. They have to actually plead guilty to the crime to which they're being presented or offered a plea deal to our program. And they have to agree to the terms and conditions set forth by the drug treatment court team and program for treatment and education and frequent court appearances and group and individual counseling, random drug testing, and supervision. Every one of them is on probation during the entire time that they're, from the time they're sentenced to drug court all the way through to a year after. Next slide. So we do a lot with sanctions and incentives. We were really good at sanctions and not so good at incentives, but we're getting better at the incentives part of incentivizing positive behavior, which is compliance with the program and showing up for meetings, being on time, doing your calendar, following the rules. Next. So the benefits of a drug treatment court are to reduce reoffending or recidivism, to enhance community safety, to promote their recovery, provide participants with the chemical dependence has resulted in criminal behavior, to provide them with community supervision, offer them alternatives to incarceration, restore families, and reintegrate them into the community. Next slide. So on our team, we have a larger team and a smaller team. The smaller team consists of Rhonda, Rob, who is our case manager, myself, and Amanda, who is probation and parole. The larger team consists of Judge McLeod, who is our drug treatment court judge, myself, the case manager, Rob, the Rhonda, who's the court therapist, supervision, which is Amanda from probation and parole, representative from law enforcement, who's Chief Smith from Littleton Police Department, representatives of the county attorney's office is Vika Kovalenko, and the representative from the county office of public defenders, Jamie Brooks. Next slide. So our target population is are those that are addicted to illicit drugs or alcohol. It can be alcohol. People oftentimes don't think of that in the same way. It can be somebody who's suffering an addiction to alcohol, that they're at high risk, high need, and high risk for reoffending and high need for treatment. They're commonly referred to as moderate to high risk and need, opposed to low risk. We do not take people who are on a low risk level. Next slide. So disqualifiers and exclusions from the participation would be if they were not of high risk, high need, if the individual has serious mental health or medical conditions outside of the resources of our drug treatment court. However, we try really hard if they qualify to pull in those services the best we can so that we don't disqualify somebody who is really struggling out there, not just with a substance use disorder, but with other conditions. So, and then again, the low risk folks, we don't target that population and they're not really fit for our program. And then they say drug profiteers for sale of drug or profits. That's been an ongoing, but what's considered a profiteer is, you know, that's up to the county attorney's office. So next slide. So this is like a little walkthrough of what each phase looks like. Clients moving through 5-phase program. The first phase is an acute stabilization phase. It lasts 60 days minimum. Sometimes it takes folks a little bit longer to get through, but essentially they're setting up their counseling, setting up doctors, primary care, getting on medications, doing their random drug tests, getting a schedule down for appearances to court, showing up, being honest. It's very intense because it's very new to the folks that are coming into the program. So it's intense for them, but we're very lenient in that phase because folks just aren't used to that kind of lifestyle yet. And we're very understanding of that. They have a minimum sobriety time that they have to meet, like 14 days, in order to promote to the next phase. So that's phase 1. And next slide. Phase 2 is more clinical stabilization. That's a minimum of 90 days. It's continued compliance with phase 1 requirements, review of the treatment plan, creating a budget, maintaining monthly participation with the team, and then they have curfew too. So there's a 90-day compliance with all treatment and a minimum of 30 days of clean time before they can promote to the next phase. Next slide. So phase 3 is prosocial, and that is 120 days. That phase seems to be the toughest phase for people to get through, because that's when the job and the housing, and they start working on some critical thinking programs and maybe some MRT. We're backing off a little bit on curfew, but they're all still calling the color line every single day. They get 2 random UAs at minimum a week. And so, you know, we're monitoring their urine. We have saliva, sweat patches. So when they're getting into some difficulty, whether it be behavioral or treatment-wise, we vamp up treatment and or respond to behavior in a way where we can monitor them a little better and try to reel them in. So phase 3 is a tough phase for a lot of people. Next slide. And then they can obviously stay longer. That's designed to get them through in 18 months. I don't know very many people that make it through in 18 months. But phase 3 and phase 5 seem to be the sticking points. But this phase 4, we start working on addressing needs and vocational skills. Their curfew goes back a little bit more. They're still getting checks from probation. They're still meeting with case manager. They're still meeting with Rhonda. And then we have, since COVID, started a 2 times a week Zoom meeting at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays and Fridays, where they're all mandated to check in. And so they're also mandated to do that. And that's proven to be very helpful to the participants and us as a team as a whole. Next one, and the last one is the continuum of care, the final phase. And that's when we back off quite a bit on, not their treatment, but, you know, oversight, case management, and kind of let them feel it out. Rhonda works with them on getting them set up for outside individuals to be doing their treatment once they commence the program. And they are working on a more independent, breaking away from us a little bit more than they had been in the previous phases. This phase is also a difficult phase because they get right up to the end and oftentimes relapse, but we're prepared for that. So we just give them some more treatment and keep working with them, give them a lot of chances, and remember how far they've come. Try to remember how far they've come and not lose sight of that. Next. So monitoring is crucial, and Doug can attest to that. He spent a lot of time collecting urine on weekends, which is, you know, our lab doesn't collect on weekends, and we lost that since we've lost Doug, but it's important to catch them off guard, to keep an eye on what's going on. They'll calculate days, the lab, they've got that down packed. They, you know, so we try to throw them off and throw in some random testing, just show up at the door. Since COVID, we haven't been doing a whole lot of that either. And then we try to get them into the MAT programs if they need them, or get them off the MAT programs if they don't want to be on them. So next. So they are mandated to be in self-help groups, and there's been a lot of controversy about what a self-help group is. So a lot of our folks really enjoy the gym and working out. There's not a lot of money out there for it, and most of them have a hard time affording the memberships. But we count right now our groups that we do twice a week as their self-helps, but they engage in AA, NA, Smart Recovery, Therapeutic Art. We do a once a month group meeting where we do a group activity. Cooking we've done, baking contest, hiking, and so we count that as a self-help as well. They can attend church if they so wish. Next slide. So they attend regular court sessions. Drug court meets 1 time a week on Mondays from 2 to normally 4 or 3, depending on what, you know, how many people we have and how much the judge wants to talk about. That's when they're given their incentives for the most part and their sanctions. We have court on the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th Mondays of the month. And on the off Monday, they have off, but they do our team event on that Tuesday evening. Next slide. So when they successfully complete, there's a commencement ceremony, graduation, so to speak. They get a certificate. We honor their progress, and they're allowed to bring their family or friends. We usually try to get a guest speaker, and then they continue on from that date of their actual graduation date. Sometimes, depending on when the graduation is, they may have already commenced, however they come for their ceremony, but they continue on with probation for an additional year after, where probation monitors them, and then we stand in the background there, and if there's a relapse or there's another crime committed or there's some issues, probation and pro will call upon us, and we'll go back in and help get them connected to services. And that can go on even beyond that year. They can call us anytime. We'll be there to help them out. Next one. So the big carrot was that after they've completed the year of probation, they have another year where they must be completely unsupervised. And if they're allowed to stay, or if they're able to stay arrest-free and out of the system, then they can apply to the court to have the felony charges to which they came into the program for annulled off their record with no issue. And we support our participants in doing that. The county attorney's office has been really good lately about lumping together some charges because a lot of folks have more than one felony from way back when, so that's not annullable. It's only the charges they come in on when they're sentenced to the program. So we've been working with the attorneys to mop up what they have outstanding so that it's they're able to move on once they commence, and they'll be able to move from that felony and maybe get some jobs and things they had not been able to do in the past. Housing. Next one. So they can be terminated. They have been terminated. It's hard to do these days to get terminated from the program because we really try to work with them for a long period of time because especially people who are meth users, it takes a lot longer to get them to bite. And you know, but they can be for refusing treatment. That will get you gone every time. Failing to give consent or release of information. We don't always terminate for that stuff. We've had people revoke releases. They do a sanction, which is usually some jail time, and then come back to the program. It's usually, you know, a 7 to 10 day or 3 to 5 day sanction. Dishonesty continually, where we just can't get them to be honest with the team, and then committing new crimes. But the judge has the final say over whether he'll move that to a termination hearing or not. Next. So anyone can refer to drug treatment court. It doesn't matter who you are. It does not have to come from a court. It does not have to come from an attorney. It can come from a loved one that you know that says, geez, you know, my son or my daughter or my friend or my whatever has been in trouble and they have a substance use disorder, and I want to make a referral. You can go to our website. The referral form is on there. It gets emailed to me, and then we work it out from there. We'll get the evaluation, see if they qualify, talk to the county attorney's office. So anyone from anywhere can make a referral to anyone they see fit that and they may or may not qualify. It does not mean they'll get it, but it means that we will certainly look at it and evaluate it where maybe it wasn't on the radar before, it may be on the radar now. So it's important that if you know anyone or you think anyone's going to fit that you reach out and let us know. If you ever feel like having a discussion about it, you can call me, and we can talk if you know. So next slide. And again, there's my contact information, Rhonda's contact information. So if you have questions about the program, about referrals, anything in general, please feel free to reach out.
And I will be sending the slides out after we're done with the webinar, so you'll have all this information. Thank you so much, Annie, Rhonda. It's wonderful, very informative. All right, so up next, excuse me, we have Doug Moorhead. He is the Restorative Justice Director for CADY. He's been involved with court diversion for over 2 decades. Doug is the retired Chief of Police in Woodstock, New Hampshire, and he currently holds appointments with the Grafton County Sheriff's Department and New Hampshire Fish and Game. He was a recipient of the 2014 Spirit of New Hampshire Award for Volunteerism and the 2016 New Hampshire Congressional Law Enforcement Award for Career Service. He is an avid volunteer and involved in numerous community projects. So Doug, are you with us? Can we?
I am here.
Here he is.
I am here.
Take it away.
Well, thank you, Tara, and thank you, Rhonda and Annie, for a great presentation on drug court. So I'm really excited to be new here to the CADY organization and be working with restorative justice. I had worked in juvenile diversion for many years, but restorative justice program really takes it to the next level. In the CADY program, Deb Nero really did a lot of great work many years ago to start this program, and then Tim and Jim, who've been the coordinators in the past. So I just get to fill into a great program that's already been established. So the CADY program is a nonprofit, and its mission is to develop our local youth to make healthy and safe choices by working with schools, parents, and youth in communities to prevent and reduce youth alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use to prevent or promote healthy environments and promising futures for kids. The Restorative Justice Program is within the CADY organization, and that's what I'm in charge of. So restorative justice is essentially a second chance for first-time offenders. It brings the offender, the victim, and the community together to provide a community-based approach to juvenile delinquency. The victim determines their level of involvement, and the offender participates voluntarily and must be an active participant. Community members volunteer and contribute to the overall solution, primarily by participating in our panels, but there are other ways that they can help out. We use a lot of volunteers. So next slide. So the communities that we cover, there's actually 3 restorative justice programs within the county, one down in Lebanon, another in Haverhill, but we handle essentially the eastern side of the county, from Alexandria to Woodstock, from Lincoln to Bristol. And we have 3 school districts, Newfound, Plymouth, Linwood, and we're essentially under the Plymouth Family Court umbrella. Next slide. So we really work on, it's an intervention program, but we really want to pay attention to prevention. And we're trying to prevent issues and create connections so that as the child reaches adulthood, hopefully we're going to prevent any future issues. Prevention begins with connections. Isolation is actually a major factor, risk factor, with kids getting into trouble, and we try to build connections with kids. Again, the core concept is that we want to do early intervention that leads to prevention later in life. Next slide. So the history of our restorative justice program here at CADY really started back in 2006, and really essentially addresses the goals of decreasing risk behavior, preventing court involvement. Certainly we want to reduce recidivism, reoffending. We want to promote resiliency in the youth. The RJ program addresses a major common issue of participating youth, and that's having a lack of attachment to caring adults and involvement in positive activities. When we look at resiliency, we really have to look at the child's own personality and characteristics. Certainly, whether they're going to be resilient or not has to do with their family's environment and support, or lack thereof. And the child's resiliency also depends on the community, including family members, friends, and the school. Addressing each of these hopefully will lead to behavior changes. Next slide. So the overall objectives of restorative justice are to repair harm to the victim of the crime, repair harm to the community, reduce court involvement and recidivism, reduce costs to the community, obviously increase community ownership and youth development, prevent isolation of not only the youth offender, but the victim as well. And then youth offender learns the consequences of their crime that they committed and take responsibility for their personal actions. And then the most important thing is to obviously promote lasting behavior change. Next slide. So this slide just shows some of the things. Generally speaking, it's misdemeanor level crimes. It can be violation level, or we can have non-violent type felonies, but generally it's first time offense, misdemeanor level type stuff. So threatening, simple assault, bullying, disorderly or reckless conduct, possession of drugs, possession of alcohol, shoplifting, certainly sexting, fire setting. Certainly arson may be beyond some of our capabilities, but we would look at the case. Possession of weapons illegally in school, or trespassing or criminal mischief. Those two bar graphs, juvenile diversion does work. When you look at the reduction in recidivism, the normal program through the justice system, you'll see about 42% recidivism in the first year, but when you go through a diversion program, it drops down to 21%. And our restorative justice program here at CADY is actually well below that. When you look at cost comparison over on the right-hand slide graph there, it's like 18 times more costly. A year in the family division through the full system, you're looking at probably $40,000 plus, where a juvenile diversion program is only a couple $1,000. Next slide. So the CADY Restorative Justice Program has served in over a decade 246 youth. We have about 70% of our youth have mental health or substance misuse issues. About 90% are Medicaid eligible, and many have adverse childhood experiences or ACE. Next slide. So this flow chart just shows you how somebody moves through, how a juvenile is going to move through the system here of the Juvenile Restorative Justice Program. So they'll start off with the juvenile commits an offense, and then the juvenile is referred to the RJ program by the police, court, or school. Now, parents can do a referral, but we want to channel it through one of those entities so that, well, first off, so that we have a referring agency in case the child doesn't complete. But also, we really need that commitment from the community and that attachment to make the program work. So juvenile and parent guardian meet with the RJ coordinator for an intake interview. If they're not appropriate for the program, we refer back to the entity, whether it be the police department, court, or school. If the referral is accepted by restorative justice, the victim is notified. The victim or the victim advocate may elect or reject to actually participate. We hope that they participate, but that's voluntary on their part. The coordinator also meets with the youth and parents, and then we set up a reparative panel is held, and the reparative agreement is accepted. And the reparative agreement really is just the contract that the family and the juvenile agree to get into the program. And then that's all the stuff that we work on. So the juvenile works on completing the terms of the reparative agreement. If they successfully complete, they don't have a juvenile record. If they don't complete, then we refer them back to the agency. They might have to go to court, have an in-school suspension or whatever was waiting for them if they didn't complete the program. Try the next slide. So this, the reparative agreement really is the nuts and bolts of what we do. So as I said before, we have a referral, we do the pre-intake and intake, and then we have that first panel. We really want to find out as much as we can about the participant so that we can have a very comprehensive and thorough reparative agreement. The reparative agreement actually has input from the youth, the victim, the parents, and the RJ staff and volunteers. So we get a lot of input, and we're hoping everybody has buy-in and that it's going to meet the needs of the kid. So these are just things that'll be in that agreement. So there'll be a general timeline for completion. Usually it's 3 to 4 months. It can go a little sooner if the child is being really productive and we think things are going really well. We could go a little earlier than that. Generally, it's 3 to 4 months. But also, if all the parties agree, let's say there's mentoring or something that's going on, it's really benefiting the participant, we can actually extend it out to 6 months or even beyond, as long as we have time and it is benefiting the participant. So other things that'll be in that reparative agreement are writing thank you letters, writing apology letters. Certainly the victim restitution is going to be there. We want to have competency-based community service and mentoring. There's a weekly meeting, and that weekly meeting may actually be the community service. An educational component, substance misuse or shoplifting education, referral for substance misuse treatment. We want them to meaningfully participate in school. We don't tell them they got to get straight A's, but we want them doing their homework and going to school. Obviously, we're going to write in there that they want to comply with parental rules, curfews, and stuff. One of the things that we've added in recently is a reflective letter, and that's really telling. We asked the participant to look back on what they would have told themselves before they get into trouble, and then also to set some short-term and long-term goals. And then the aftercare plan, when they're about to graduate, we work on that. And that can have therapy, volunteering, counseling, employment, education, whatever's going to work for the kid we want in there. Working on the trust issues with their parents, anything like that. We really want to make sure there's buy-in with the juvenile during that. Thank you letter, that's one of the things we're almost on all the reparative agreements, and we even work on basic English composition skills. We really want them to understand the feelings of feeling grateful, appreciative, and thankful. Apology letters, we actually spent some time working on empathy, compassion, understanding. A lot of times when we write the apologies letters, we will discover prior childhood trauma. And I've been actually moving the apology letters prior to the panel because that can be quite telling, because we want to make sure any treatment they go through is going to be trauma-informed type treatment. Community service, when we do that, we want to make sure that there's mentoring involved. We don't want to just take a child and throw them out there picking up garbage just to get the 10 hours in. We want them to actually learn something. We also want them to work on things that they're interested in and they're competent at, to give them a little bit of a positive reinforcement. You have the next slide, please. So our guiding concepts. So some of the things we think about when we set the reparative agreement up and we plan a program for the participant is substance misuse and certainly mental health care. We've been sending our participants off to see their primary care physician. We don't specifically do drug testing like drug court does, but certainly a parent can request that through the primary care physician. And then we can also do referrals to LADC, things of that nature. Again, islands of competence. We want to build on the kids' strengths. If they're really good at art or something, we might have them do some community service, doing painting, a mural, or some posters for substance abuse prevention. If they're good at cooking, maybe a fundraiser involving cooking, or if they're good with their hands, for instance, we just recently built a couple picnic tables, that type of thing for, again, working with their islands of competence. Choice theory, we want them to use good habits and develop positive choices in their life, so we do spend some time on choice theory. Again, trauma-informed care, we want to know if there's been any trauma in their background. Most of them have, and we want to address that. And then lastly, the aftercare plan, where do we go from here? Is there ongoing substance misuse that we want to address, or mental health, and we want a comprehensive aftercare. Does it with the guiding concepts. Next slide. We do have the option of using pet-assisted therapy. You know, it's been proven to work. We have used it in the past. We have Dr. Clarissa Utley at PSU with the Helping Paws program, who's available for us. That's a picture of Bradley, the CADY carrying canine. Bradley's in the past now. We don't have him anymore, but we do have this option. And animal-assisted therapy does have positive outcomes. The overall improved emotional well-being in those with like autism, mental health conditions, behavioral issues really has been shown in quite a few studies. So that's another option for us. One point that I just want to bring out is, again, restorative justice is about prevention in their adult life. So we want them making good decisions. And some of the core concepts in prevention, we actually have built into the Restorative Justice Program. For instance, there's really 6 guiding steps that you should have for any prevention program. First, you need to do a needs assessment, and we do that in our pre-intake. We want to address and figure out what the individual motivators are for an offender, and we can do that through the pre-intake, and we work on what the participant's strengths are and what are their interests when we design the program. We want to target the appropriate intervention. If you put somebody in the wrong program, that can actually do more harm than good. We want to try to rewire the brain. We try to use evidence-based programming that is interactive and allows our participants to share and collaborate, because that really builds buy-in, and they're going to, be more involved in the program if they're able to share and collaborate. We want to increase positive reinforcement. As Annie said in the drug court, they're trying to get better at the incentives, and there's a lot of evidence out there that positive reinforcement is really what helps a lot with prevention. Ongoing support, we obviously develop the aftercare plan, and if you do all those things, really develop a comprehensive program for prevention, and I think that we do that with our restorative justice program. Next slide. Actually, next slide, I already went over that. Okay. CADY restorative justice outcomes. This is the good stuff. So about 100%, we do a nice post program survey, and about 100% youth satisfaction. 92% of the victims are satisfied. We have about an 80% completion rate, and our reoffense rate in the first year, recidivism rate, is only 15%, well below the state average of 21. In the post survey with the parents, there's numerous questions in there about so they can give their positive and negative comments, whatever. If they see things that they think would improve the program, they have that input. But all the parents have characterized the impact of the RJ program on their child who's completed is either very positive or positive at 39%. So I think we're meeting our goals of educating, creating accountability, and creating the transformation. Next slide. Building foundations for resiliency. Again, it's all about making steps towards resiliency so the kids can get on to a productive life. You can't always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. Ultimately, if we've done our job, the participant in the restorative justice is going to see positive behavior change. That's really it in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, certainly, I guess we're going to have a question and answer period, but I just wanted to kind of throw a big thank you out to our volunteers. Hopefully, I think we actually have a few who have tuned in today, but we have thousands of hours of volunteers, and we really couldn't do it without our volunteer panel members and other volunteers. There's some actually some older photos. Some of these folks are no longer with us. The faces have changed, but we do appreciate all our volunteers and all the great work that they've done. And then the last slide, just my personal information in there. Feel free to give me a call. We have been able to stay operating very well through the COVID shutdown. We actually have our office set up so that we have a big screen monitor and we can do Zoom meetings. If you were to come in, for instance, just to talk to me about the program, we can sit physically distance, have a cup of coffee, and do what we need to do. But we've been in full operation the past 4 months and continue to do so. That's restorative justice in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Doug. That was great. It definitely sounds like a successful program. All right, so just a little plug here. Our next opportunity and my contact info is right on here, my email and phone number. And our third webinar will be on August 26th, also at noon, on harm reduction with Ryan Fowler, who I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with. He does a lot of great work around the state. So let me hop over. You still see that slide? I had to stop sharing so I could see the chat box. Sorry about that. All right, looks like we already have quite a few questions, so we'll get to as many as we can in the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, so this is a question regarding drug court, regarding the number of participants, success rates, and the biggest challenges that need to be addressed in the program. And also curious if you have data on success rates, broken down by MAT or non-MAT participants.
So our data as to our court in particular we've just recently, as a state as a whole, gotten a database where we're all putting information in. I do have numbers that I can put out to anybody who wants it. If you email me, I can send you the what we have for numbers. But where data as far as tracking as a state had kind of been a little on the low side for being able to do that. So the state invested in a program, and now we're all mandated to be into that system as of this year. So we're all putting the same information in at the same time with the same stuff, and that's been coming for a while. So but Alex Cassell, who is the state coordinator, has a lot of data, and some programs are better at the data than other programs. So if there's a particular county you're looking at or a particular program, then just you can email me and or call me, and I can get those numbers to anybody who wants them.
Perfect. Thank you. For Doug, do you know what the Restorative Justice Program based over in Lebanon? Do you know if they have what the name of that one is?
I do, and it escapes me. Let me just get it 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
It's Valley Diversion.
Oh, there you go.
Valley Diversion.
Thank
Diversion
you.
Program in Lebanon, yeah.
Thank you. Are either of these programs available in Rockingham County? Anybody?
Yes, the drug treatment court is available in Rockingham.
And
Yes.
there are juvenile diversion programs available throughout the state. Almost every family division has one.
Great. Can you talk more about drug testing through PCPs? Are the families all right with paying for that outside of the program, and are clean drug tests worked into the contract? So I think that's for you, Doug. You're on mute.
What was the question again?
What
is the cost?
No, can you talk through more about the drug testing with PCPs and our families?
All right, so
paying for that?
Yeah, so again, we do not do drug testing, but we can refer, and there are actually quite a few very reliable tests that parents can use, because it's up to the parent or guardian at that point. And there are things you can buy retail right over the counter. But also when we encourage them, if there is a trust issue or they believe there's a significant substance misuse issue, to go to their primary care physician and start there with the urinalysis, full physical, and then send them off to an MLADC with the results of their analysis.
Perfect. And that can be part of the contract, right? That they
Absolutely.
have a clean
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. What does participation in drug court cost and who pays?
So this is a state-funded program, so it's funded by the Judicial Bureau. And there are participation fees that are charged to each participant by the month. It's $20 a month, that's what they pay. As to like UAs and all that, that's done through their insurance. We have a lab, and there's no cost to the participant because all of our folks are eligible, or most all are eligible for some sort of insurance, whether it's Medicaid or Medicare or other private health insurance. So all of our billing goes through there. The treatment billing goes through there, and then the program itself has a minimal fee. That varies around the state. There are different programs who have different program fees, but none of them are anything out of the participants' reach, because that's not the goal. The goal is to get them the treatment they need and not charge them for that.
Sure, sure. Thank you. What is the breakdown of substance in drug court? Percentage of opioids, meth, alcohol, marijuana, etc. Approximately.
That's a Rhonda question, I think.
Rhonda, you're on mute. There you go.
Yep, there you go. Actually, I don't have the specific number, but I can tell you right now, of all of the participants that we do have, or I want to say since I've started, I don't think I've had one person that had an alcohol abuse issue. So I find that extremely interesting. Lately, it's been meth, fentanyl, opiates, gabapentin. Marijuana is, it's rare that we have just one person that, I don't have one person that has just on marijuana. It's usually marijuana and then something else. I hope that answers your question, Deb.
Yeah, good, thank you.
And Doug also just put the number for Valley diversion in the chat box for, I think it was Dwight that was looking for that. Do we have any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. We had a great turnout for this this presentation, and I hope to see you all at the third webinar in our series. And I will send out the slides for this today, as well as the flyer for the upcoming webinar in August. And everybody's contact info will be in the slides. So if you have any questions for us afterwards, please reach out.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you
afternoon.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks to all the speakers. You were great.
Yes, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Tara.
Very helpful.
Bye.